We chant Om 3 times, followed by the invocation shlokas. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vedvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्. Hari Om, welcome back. As we are covering chapter 8 of Gita, what are we studying is that the importance of reaching Bhagwan in this very lifetime, right? Because the thing is that we don't know how we are going to be born in our next life. And no, so our next life is not in our control. The situations in our next life are not in our control, number one. Even in this lifetime, how things would turn out in our future, we don't know. Say, for example, if you look at geriatric population who are in the 80s or 90s, etc., at that age, the mind's capacity or intellect's capacity becomes very weak. It is very difficult to think about anything new, understand anything new, reflect on anything new. So, only thing that is possible is that whatever you have practiced throughout the life, that may come to help there. Okay. Because if you see anyone who is in their old age, they can only talk about what they did in their young age. And if you think about, like, if there are things like Alzheimer's or dementia, etc., even they don't recognize their own spouse or family members, right? So the point is not to scare, but the point is that we don't know how things are going to be in our future. See, even like once you're in middle ages, you remember the type of work you did. You are very good at the type of skill sets that you have acquired in your 20s and 30s. But as you need to acquire newer and newer skill sets at your work, maybe a new programming language, etc., the comfort level in that new programming language that you learn today is not same as the level of comfort that you had with a new programming language that you learned 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Right? So that what does that show? That is, whatever has been ingrained in us from a younger age is going to last longer, okay, and stays better. So when we are fit, we must im- implement whatever we put effort in this and make as much progress as possible. And that's where, like, Bhagwan says that if you are thinking about me throughout your life, it will come to aid at the time of your death. That's what Bhagwan says, right? So, uh, as a working employees, you probably have access to 401k, right? Now, when you first start in your 401k, what happens? You put $100 or $200 a per paycheck. It is allowed, like, you can have to put, you can put up to 15%, but like whether you can afford to put 15% or not, but you start it as a practice and slowly increase to maximize to 15%. And then once you are maximized to 15%, you stay back with that. And a few years later, those $150 or $200 that are cut off every paycheck, suddenly they appear in thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And by the time you retire, it could even be in millions, right? So that came from a proper discipline in saving, where yes, I have expenses throughout. However, I have to save something for my future. And when those savings that you saved for future, they will come to your aid in your retirement. But that money has to be spent before we die. Otherwise, what happens? It will go to our kids. Okay. Now, with respect to our spiritual progress, whatever we put on a daily basis, on a regular basis, how much of we put effort, that effort keeps on adding up, adding up, adding up. And unlike the 401k, let's say in your 401k, etc., you had, like, maybe 500k or $500,000 or $1 million or zero. In your next life, it is not going to come. Okay. That's gone. Whatever you spent is gone. Okay. The next life, you have to start with zero. It is independent of what you did in this lifetime financially. But in terms of spirituality, whatever we have put this effort will come to aid in our next life also. And especially, like, if we put best effort, more and more effort, right? And that's why we have to put all of this effort all the time as much as possible. So, for example, if you say, like, today I had 10 free minutes or 1 hour, free 1 hour. Okay, so spend some time listening to a discourse or read a book, something like that, that will help you. Because when you are in pain, this is something very important that our teacher said, is that when you have nothing else to do, as in, like, when you are, like, healthy, etc., and you have free time, at that time, the level of sattva, okay, purity or clarity in our mind is better. At that time, if I am studying anything, right? I mean, like, whatever I'm absorbing, that is absorbed in a much better manner. Whether it is a Bollywood movie or whether it is scriptures, it doesn't matter. But on the other hand, like, when I am in pain or I am in suffering, at that time, if I try to learn something new or watch something new, it doesn't work. So that's where, whenever something is like, whenever you have free time, spend time in learning a little bit more about uh, ourselves. And we learn about ourselves, our true nature, when we study scriptures. Okay. So Now, in this, so with that, like this is the entire primary concept, right? Why? Because once we reach Bhagwan, we will never come back. However, if we reach anywhere else, we may come back. And that was what is told through Ad Abrahma Bhuvanalokaha, right? Punaravartino Arjuna. Like even if you go to Brahmaloka, which is like the highest abode, there's a possibility that you may come back. But Mamapeti tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. If you come to me, there is no uh, possibility of you coming back. And then Bhagavan has said that Sahasra Paryantam Brahmano Viduhu Ratri Yugam Sahasrantam Teho Ratri Vido Janaha. So that is like, there are 1,000 yugas in Brahma, this daytime, and then there is 1,000 yugas worth of time during Brahmaji's night time. And every morning when he wakes up, he starts अव्यक्तात् व्यक्त्युत्र सर्वाः प्रभवन्ति अहरागमे रात्रागमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैव अव्यक्त संज्ञके भूतग्रामस एवाय भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्रागमे वशः पार्थ प्रभवन्ति अहरागमे. So whenever he wakes up, he is whatever was unmanifest, all the jivas, he is making sure that they are manifested again. And at the time of his sleep, all jivas are going into unmanifest form. In this regard, jivas have no control and they are just stuck like that. This is what we saw. So towards the end of last session, we Pawan had a few questions. Okay, and he said that let us discuss this question. I mean, like because of lack of time last session, we decided to table these questions and we're going to address this. So, Pawan, is it okay if I forward your questions to the group, or can you forward this question to group? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you do that while I start addressing those? So that way they also will have reference to these questions.
In WhatsApp, okay. Or
Yeah.
here, chat. Maybe.
Okay. So yeah, you sent it to me directly. So just forward it to the group, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll still read the questions aloud. Okay. We heard in chapter 8, Shloka 20 today that there is yet another realm called eternal realm that is different from material realms and that it does not dissolve. So do we consider all 14 lokas as still material realms? So even if a soul goes to one of these lokas after death based on their deeds, they're still bound to take rebirth. Is that right? Okay. Yes, the answer is right. Your understanding is correct. So this eternal realm that Bhagavan is talking about, right? Parastasmatto bhava भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो अव्यक्ता सनातनः यस सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यति न विनश्यति. So apart from these 14 lokas, meaning like beyond these 14 realms is Bhagwan's realm. And this Bhagwan's realm, when it says, what it means is that you're going from superimposed to what is substratum. Okay. So, you heard the analogy of a snake on rope, right? You all know the snake on rope example, right? Right? Okay. So what is snake on rope? What does it say? That when someone mistakes a rope for a snake, then where is snake? Snake is said to be superimposed on rope. Now, snake and rope are different or same in this example. So it is rope itself is appearing as a snake, but there is no snake. Okay. Now, if my attention is on snake, which is this prapancha, which is superimposed, Then what happened is that I may be thinking that, oh, you know what, I'm at the tail. Okay. Or I moved to the stomach area, or I'm sitting, standing on that hood of the snake. Okay? Like Bhagavan Krishna was dancing on the hood of Kaliya. So, but all of this, okay, oh, by the way, like here are the fangs, this is where the poison is, so I need to stay away from, like that, you know. All of this is with respect to something that is superimposed that doesn't exist and it is subject to disappear. How does it disappear? When the knowledge of truth happens, which is that this is not snake, this is rope. Once you understand that, then there is no snake, there are no fangs, whether you are there is no such thing as tail or head or anything like that, because there's no snake ever at all. Okay, all that is in rope alone. So, in the same manner, this happening is that all of these things, whether it is Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Suvarloka, Maharjana, Maharloka, Jana, Tapaha, etc., all of those are above, are Atula, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Patala, Mahatala, all of those in the bottom. It doesn't matter, right? All of them are just superimposed Adhyastha. So, Adhyastha means superimposed. Okay, so that's why we get stuck here. But once we go beyond this, that means that once we identify, once we understand our true nature, then we become one with God. And when that happens, okay, nothing, there's nothing else. Okay. And so hence there's no rebirth. Does it help, Pawan?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Then the second question is that in that case, all the adhipatis of these lokas are also souls who are subjected to rebirth at some point and are temporary adhipatis only. Meaning, some souls take ownership, leadership of that loka in every cycle, just like how we are, how we may have different Brahmas. Or is that the adhipati, a designated soul, God, that ever rules that loka? Okay? Yes. So, these are uh, what we say is that some great Mahatmas who, who have reached liberation. However, they probably have a little bit of a rajas is there. Okay. Because of that little bit of rajas, what happened is that they are given that adhipatya. Adhipatya means the rulership of different realms and they manage those realms. So, for example, in a Kathopanishad, the teacher is Yama. And he actually, now, he is the teacher who is Brahma Gnani. He is teaching this knowledge to Nachiketa. When he is teaching, what he says is that when I got an opportunity to become, I mean, like to become to realize, instead I opted for something, and because of that, I am managing this realm of, the what you call like a dissolution. Okay, because like Naraka is not a right word, but he is managing the departure of all the souls for this entire cycle. And then what happens at the end of the cycle, that is that Mahayuga, right? Then he gets liberated and then he goes back. And then, but then there could be some other Mahatma, some other Jiva that may take that role. Okay, so this is how it happens. Okay. Does it help, Pawan? Any follow-up questions on that?
No, that is good. Yeah, thank you. And others can pitch into, I just followed the questions, but we can also, if others have questions, we can. So, thank you.
So in chapter 8, Shloka 13, we heard that anyone who departs from the body while remembering God and chanting the syllable Om will attain him. Does attaining him here means reaching the eternal realm or becoming part of God? I ask because we heard that at the end of Brahma's this, all the lokas dissolve and all the souls residing there become unmanifest, meaning they hibernate in the body of Vishnu God, waiting for the next cycle of creation. And when Brahma creates these lokas again, these souls are reborn based on their past karmas. So the difference is when the body, okay, so if someone is departs from this body while remembering God and chanting syllable Om, will attain him. So once you say that we attain him, then that means that he is beyond these 14 realms. Okay. Once that person is beyond the 14 realms, then he becomes one with God. It is not becoming part of God either. He becomes one with God. I'll tell you in a second why. Okay. When this Brahmaji's day, when lokas dissolve, souls become unmanifest, but they are not, they are coming back. Okay. This person becomes one with God. What does that mean is there is no more individuality or jivatva left in that soul. As a result, that there is no soul at all. Okay. So it becomes one. Okay. And as a result, there's no coming back. Let me explain a little bit in here, right? We talk about three levels of, sorry, no, three bodies. You're familiar with these three bodies, right? Stula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira. The gross body, subtle body, and the causal body. Now, Sthula Sharira, the physical body, is the one that is dead and it gets either burnt or cremated or buried or eaten by animals or decomposed one way or other after one's death. Now, what happens to Sukshma Sharira and Karna Sharira, the subtle body and the causal body? These two together, they go and they find another physical body and enter that physical body. So these two together, put together, is called as Jiva. Okay, in a simple way. Now this Jiva, that is one who is going from one body to another body. And in this case, what is happening? What is the cause of this rebirth again and again? Because in Karana Sharira, that is in the causal body, which is the cause for rebirth, in that what is happening is there are karma phala and vasana. Karma phala is the results of past actions that we need to experience, and vasanas are our likes and dislikes that manifest. So both of them are there. Because of that, to exhaust those vasanas, to exhaust those karma phalas, you need another body. Okay, to experience that and exhaust them. But as part of that experiencing and exhausting those karmas and vasanas, what is happening is that additional karmas are being added, additional vasanas are being added. It is something like this. Um, Imagine there's a tank, okay, of infinite capacity. Okay, there's no fixed capacity for the tank. Now, in that tank, there are one pipe is output pipe, meaning that is draining the tank, and then there is another pipe that is filling the tank. Now, if the rate of how do we empty the tank? We can empty the tank only if the drainage is more faster than the inputs, and or if input is stopped completely, then drainage, and if it is drained, then the tank becomes empty. But now, unfortunately, the way it is that for every a gallon, emptying every gallon of water, we are adding 2 more gallons into the tank. So it will never become empty. That is the challenge that we have. Now, when moksha is the realization that I am not this Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, or Karna Sharira, and disassociating oneself from those. When that disassociation happens, what happens is that those karmas which are there, who can that be attributed to? There is no more jiva to attribute that. That jiva is gone. Then those karmas will fall down. Okay, so then I mean, like those karmas, vasanas, etc., they become orphan. At that time, the definition of jiva is also gone because now you're detached from your karmas and vasanas. So you don't have any likes or dislikes. You don't have anything that need to be experienced or anything like that. So then what happens is that realizes that aspect, whatever is there, realizes the oneness with God, and then that disappears completely. That is the idea of, because I'm saying that because I don't know at that time what is the term to use it, because there's no jiva. Jiva itself is disappeared. Okay. And because of that, the jiva is never born again. Okay. So that means that there's no jivatva. Okay. There's no, it is something like this. Uh, when a water drop falls back into ocean, now if you say like, okay, find that water drop, you cannot really find it.
Mhm.
Okay. So this jiva also become one with that. Okay. That's the idea.
But then it's not like the vasana aspect, right? Like how do we know that we have depleted our vasanas? Like I think Ravi was asking something similar last time, related question. Like, this stanza says that when you recite the God's name and say Om, now you'll automatically attain Him. It's not like, I'm guessing it's not like how many ever vasanas you have and whatever you did. If you are, it's not easy for someone to say that until they practice and meditate on God, is what I've been learning. It's not like someone just says or Om and then all the vasanas are gone when he dies. It's not like that, right?
See, the thing is that it is something like this. Someone, okay, someone may know E equals mc square. Okay, E energy equals mass times speed of light squared. That doesn't mean anything until you actually experience the whole, what energy is, what is mass, what is this, and like you experience that. So similarly, chanting Om doesn't mean that Om. Om, the word Om on its own has no real value. It is any other syllable. Okay. But when you chant Om, okay, yeah, like especially if you look at WhatsApp, they talk about vibration. This is the vibration it generates, etc. All of that may be true or may not be. To what extent it is true and what extent that is helpful, that's not the point. We need to understand what is the concept of Om must be understood. Okay. When you're chanting Om, I need to understand that Om has three syllables. Okay, three components to it. What is that? A, U, and Ma. A is the beginning, U is the high pitch, and M is merging back. And then there is a silence. So when I'm chanting Om, I understand that from silence, sound is arising, turning into different forms, and then merging back. So whatever this prapancha, like this world is also coming out from that silence, that substratum, appearing to be there and merging back into that same substratum. Now, what was there before sound and after sound is silence. What happened to silence during sound is also, silence is still there. It is just that you're only observing sound, not the silence. So, where should my focus should be? On the sound or on the silence? So, irrespective of the sounds that are there, my focus should be on silence. That is, now, taking this, you have to go to the next step. The next step is that my true nature is Parabrahma Swarupa. Okay? Just like sound has come and sound has merged back into that silence, in the same way, these shariras, these Thula, Sukshma, Kana shariras, they are coming up and they are merging back. So I don't have anything to do with this Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karna Sharira. Meaning, in Sukshma Sharira, what is happening? I'm getting a lot of thoughts. Okay, so I have nothing to do with my thoughts. I have nothing to do with these likes and dislikes. I have nothing to do with what is happening in this world around me. I'm only doing all of that because, as part of this transactional world, I'm doing what this body is supposed to do, but I am independent of all of this. So this is the understanding that should be there when you chant Om. And with that kind of an understanding, if you are chanting Om throughout your life, what it does mean? That means that you have disassociated yourself with this Stula Sukshma Karna Prapanchas and your own Stula Sukshma Karna Shariras. So when that is done, you become realized. And then what happens? Then there is no need to be reborn, because all karmas are vasanas. For them to attach, you need some kind of a medium, and that medium which you thought as a reflected medium, which you thought that you as an independent entity who is independent from the rest of the world and you're different from rest of other people, that thought process itself, meaning that idea itself, is merged. So then there is nothing else to be attached to. Does it help?
Yeah, I think you're trying to answer some of the next parts of questions also. Yeah, that helps.
Then what happens to someone who dies in sleep? Usually they say that person had a peaceful death, but then this person is not chanting or remembering God at the time of death, although he may be while awake. So in that case, is this person subject to rebirth? So it is the last thought that counts, okay, before death. Like maybe like whether this person who went into sleep, or maybe went into coma, whatever, the last thought while the person is awake, that's what determines. Okay.
For them to think about God, they have to be constantly, be in that mode, right? In that devotion, meditation, all that, for them to have, or even for them to get that thought, it's not going to happen unless they are practicing.
Yeah.
Is how I'm getting it.
So
Unknowingly. They should happen like them without knowing, right? So,
yeah.
yeah.
So in this case, right, it is said that, I mean, not that, oh, okay, I don't know tomorrow morning whether I'm going to awake or not. So let my last thought before I go to sleep is Bhagwan's thought. So I'm going to chant the name of God before I go to sleep. No, not okay. That's okay. You can do that. But it is said, more practically, it is said that whatever thought, with whatever thought you go to sleep, you wake up with that same thought. Okay. That means what happens is that whatever thought you had before going to sleep, that is staying in a very subtle manner in your consciousness. The consciousness, not as in Satchitananda, that not that chit, but somewhere deeper inside in your Karna Sharira, that thought is ready to manifest at the first thing in the thing. So it is kind of in a forefront within that Karna Sharira. Okay. So because of that, as a vritti means thought. Okay. Because of that, it is said that if you start thinking about Bhagwan, okay, Bhagwan again, like don't think about like, oh, Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, 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 Rama, 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 Rama. That alone is not enough. Like as I said, right? We need to understand the Bhagwan's tattva and think about the nature of God, what God is, or any of the scriptural knowledge. As you start thinking about it, as you're thinking about it when you are sleeping, then those will stay, and what happens is that they start acting as purifiers in your subconscious during while you are asleep, and they will clear out some of our vasana, some of our karma phala automatically. Okay, so that, and if you do it consistently, then it is better that way. That is what is also said. Okay. Then the fifth question is, we had been learning. Is that answer your question or any other questions you have?
No,
On
I'm good. Yeah, we can go to the next question. Yeah, thank you.
we had been learning all through Bhagavad Gita that the ultimate goal is to realize Brahman, self or Brahman, realizing that we are beyond gross, subtle body and yeah, of course, causal body is also, I'm including causal body too. Okay. And that God is us or we are part or creation of God. So what after? Okay. So God is us or we are part of creation of God. So when we say God is us, then that means that we consider that as Advaita. When we say we are part of God, it is called as Vishishtadvaita. Okay. So there is a slight, I mean, like we have three schools of thoughts, right? One is duality, which is Dvaita, and second is Vishishtadvaita, and third is Advaita. In duality, in Dvaita philosophy, you are always separate from God, and you will moksha is just staying closer to God. And like you will the best possible thing for you is to be servant of God and be like that. Okay, so that means servant of God means like praying to God and keeping your separation from God. That is the best that is the only possibility that you have. That is Dvaita philosophy. That is like Madhvacharya, etc. They formulated this thought process. Then Vishishtadvaita says, no, 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 you will become one with God, but somehow you will have maintain your separation. Okay, so that means that you are part of God, so you are like part of a whole. Whole, I mean WHOLE. Okay, you are part of a whole, and you have a independent existence, and God also have independent existence, but still you are part of God. So there is something like think about a simple, easy way to say is you as a biodome, individually, all of us, we have trillions, not billions, but trillions of bacteria, etc., that are living in our body. Okay, and they, each of those bacteria, worms, they have their own cycle of life and death, and I have my own cycle of life and death. Okay, yet they are part of me. Okay, so the uh, Vishishtadvaita is somewhat in similar lines. I mean, like, this is any analogy doesn't represent the actual truth. So this is it is a somewhat accurate, but not 100% accurate in my example. But in this model, what happens is that you somehow still maintain your duality. Okay, your separateness from God. And in Advaita, there is no separateness. You are that, and that you are. Now, the Ad Vishishtadvaitins or Dvaitins, they kind of believe that Advaita is basically, they actually call it as Advaita as Mayavada. Mayavada because they say that this is all Maya. I mean, like you guys keep telling it is Maya, Maya, you believe in Maya. What we say is that we understand that the world is Maya, so we don't believe in Maya. Rather, we want to separate from Maya and stay with Brahman. That's what our understanding, Advaita is. And co consequently, or conversely, what is happening in Dvaita or Vishtadvaita is the way I look at is that, again, like I'm not expert. Okay? The way I look at is that it is, there is a fear of death is there. When there's a fear of death, you want to have some kind of a separation. Oh, no, 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 I want to have some kind of separation. That is what, because I want to exist. I want to exist where I know I exist. And I understand that, oh, I am Venkat, oh, I am Ravi, like that. I need to have that kind of a understanding. Okay. So when you have that kind of a fear that and unable to give up attachment to the individuality, the jivatva, then obviously like you're not going to get the moksha as permanent moksha as like becoming one with God. Rather, you will go up to the Brahmaloka type and you come back and do that. Okay, so that's why there's a difference. Now, why am I saying this is that for your question, what you're saying is that what after? Okay, once you become one with God, what after? There's nothing after. Okay, there's nothing after where the moksha is defined as two uh, in two aspects. One is in terms of sukha and other is in terms of dukkha. Sukha is in terms of happiness and in terms of dukkha means sorrow. So this world, okay, this world means like whether this particular thing as in terms of earth or any of these 14 lokas, all of them are dukkhamayam. Dukkha means sorrow. Why? Because there's always some kind of a creation is happening. That means that there's always something is dissolution is happening. When there is a constant dissolution, that means that there is a himsa. Himsa means violence is happening. Okay, think about it. In our existence, our birth itself is himsa. Okay, violence. Okay, we get violently separated from our mother. The amount of pain the mother goes through, or we as a jiva, like we go through, but the birth is tough. Now, from the time of birth, what happens is that let's talk about non-vegetarianism, right? You know, people say no, you should not eat animals. Now, oh, you guys say that you should not eat animals, but you eat plants. Plants also have life. Yes. Okay. So, like that, if you look at this, nothing that we eat is free from life in one way or other. Okay. So then, is meat eating is justified? Yeah, if cannibalism is also can be justified in that manner, right? At that rate. So I'm not saying like, okay, this is right or that is right. But what happens is that everything in our life is that violence is there. Because of that violence, there's always some kind of a sorrow is there throughout this. So this Bhagwan in this Bhagavad Gita alone, he says it is dukkhalayam. He says just like when you say alayam is temple, when we say uh, Shivalayam means Shiva's temple, Ramalayam, Rama's temple. Dukkhalayam means Dukkha's temple. Okay, the temple of sorrow. That's what this whole world is. So now, moksha is cessation from this sorrow completely. So that means that there is no more rebirth, so you don't have to go through any of this at all. Okay. And then Paramananda Prapti is another one. Meaning like you are in absolute bliss. So again, bliss, don't understand like, oh, it is enjoyment. Okay, so like, like typically like when we think about heavens, oh, the people are partying, they're enjoying, no, not that kind of enjoyment. This is enjoyment here. It is, you are in perfect equilibrium where you are beyond tamas, you are beyond rajas, and you are even beyond sattva. All these three gunas are gone. Meaning like there is no, you are in a thought-free state where there are no thoughts exist. So when there are no thoughts, it is absolute bliss. So this is what we say, and that is beyond time, beyond space. So that is where we are, and then we never come back. So as a result, once we realize self, we are automatically going to eternal realm. Means you're not going, you'll become one. Okay. And no more material realms. Yes, that is correct. No more material realms or no more rebirths. Okay. Now, what happens is that if we say that when we deplete our karma, then Karna Sharira is not taking birth. That is theoretically true, but practically impossible. So what we say is that because these karmas, as I mentioned before, for every karma that we perform, we are adding up so much uh, karmas. Like, say, for example, you breathed. Did you breathe? No? Yes. Okay. With each inhalation, so many the level of virus level or I don't know the exact like word to say, like not germs, but like smaller than those. Okay, we breathe them and we inhaled them and they died. So that's why Jains, etc., they actually carry, like, they tie their nose. I mean, they actually wear a mask, not from now, but from ever, right? For hundreds of years, centuries, they try, walk with mask around them. So they don't want to kill even those. But that is not possible. So what is happening is that now when you do that, whether willingly or unwillingly, there is a there's a result for that. And that result also we have to experience. So as a result, what happens is that vasanas or karmas can never be completely exhausted. Rather, what you do is that you separate yourself from those karmas and vasanas. So that's why we call it as moksha. Moksha means what? You are bandha vimukti. Bandha means there is a tied up. Okay, what are you tied up? You are tied up with your karma phala, your vasanas, etc. That you are separating yourself from those karmas, you're separating from those vasanas, and then that is because the opposite for moksha is bandha. Bandha is tied up, right? Moksha is you're getting freed from all of this. So once that is done, then all of those karmas and karma phalas are gone, and you are free from them, even though they technically existed. Okay, so does that answer fifth question, Pawan?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, I'm still like, how do you know we realized self, right? I understood earlier part where we have to identify ourselves not with the
So
body, any of these bodies, but then when do you know like you are realized, self-realized? Like, we understand the concept now. We kind of understand it, but it's not same as realizing, right? It's
Mhm.
that probably that feeling. I don't know. That's the part I am lost. Like, what do we mean by self-realization? We understand that
so
we have to distinguish ourselves to be not attached with a body, jiva, and all. But when do we know that we reach that state, right? How do you
mhm.
know that?
Now, see, the thing is that you're playing with a 2-year-old baby. The baby, this is Puja Guru Sanchidanandaji's example. The baby, and you're playing with a balloon. Okay, baby, and you are playing with a balloon. Now, 2-year old or 3-year-old, they are very excited with that simple balloon. Okay, they are so happy. They are okay, excitedly. Okay, everything. You are also enjoying it. Okay. However, what happens is, how long does the balloon last? Especially when a child, like a 2 to 3-year-old child, is running around with it. After a few minutes, that balloon is going to pop somehow. When that popped, what is the reaction of that baby? That baby, for that baby at that time, that balloon was the whole life, whole world. And when it burst, it hurts the baby's feelings, thoughts, and the baby starts crying. Now, what is your, as an adult, mature adult, what is your reaction to that? You knew right from the get-go that the balloon is going to burst within few minutes anyway. You don't know, probably you did not know like how exactly it is going to burst, when it is going to burst. It will burst. Now, did your happiness go down because that balloon burst? No. Okay. It doesn't mean like, you are like you have some kind of sadistic pleasure on the child or the baby is crying and I am happy. No, you like you lift the baby, hug the baby and say, no, no, it's all right, dear, and you quieten, but like you are happy that you had some great time. No, that great time was there independent of the presence or absence of balloon. Okay. Realization is like that, and balloon is like this world. So when we are unrealized, okay, when we are not realized, for us, we are dependent on things that are external. Okay, external means again, like, even understand, like, internal versus external doesn't mean that, anything outside of my body is external. No, please don't think like that. Even our thoughts are also external. Like, we are happy when we have a happy thought. Okay, we are sad when we have a sad thought. We are angry when we got an angry thought. See? Okay, so we are dependent on, but those are also external things. Why? Because those are karma phalas or vasanas that are separate from us. Okay, that part of karma sharira are not us. So that is how we are. And then a realized master will still have thoughts, will still have see the world, will still go through everything, but they are not impacted by any of it. Okay, that is what the realization. That's what I heard from one of Swami Chinmayanandaji's discourses about the nature of realization. Okay, okay. So now anything about realization is because this is outside of the realm of the truth is that, yeah, it is outside the realm of, it is beyond mind and intellect. What is beyond mind and intellect is beyond speech also. So what is the exact nature of that realization? We will only know when we get there. So everything that I just spoke is just like a pointer.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think, we've heard a
now,
lot of things like quietening our mind. We have to
yeah.
detach ourselves from things, not expect results. All those things, are not easy to attain. So I think over the process, there's multiple steps that will get you there, probably, right? So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think I had the same question that Pawan was saying, and the way, in a simplistic terms, I'm understanding with all your explanation, Venkat, is we all need to burn our vasanas, right? I think that's the key. You burn the vasanas, and that will automatically calm your mind and help you get into that self-realization. And again, going back to your explanation on Om, right? Yeah, even when you die in sleep, when you have that mindset, you will go to God. I think that's the key today, right? I think as an example, whatever I felt as important in age 3, it doesn't matter to me now. Even whatever I felt as important in age 25, it doesn't matter to me anymore. But still, I have vasanas of certain things I think as important as of now. But 20 years from now, as I practice, maybe I burn all those vasanas, and that's what takes me to the self-realization. Am I getting it right, Venkat?
Yeah. So unfortunately, what happens is those vasanas you will burn, or like, you'll get rid of, but you'll get new vasanas in the meantime.
You're correct.
Okay. So for example, if you look at your young daughter, right? So at the age of 2 or 3, probably they're watching a TV show. Like, I don't know, like, what are the TV shows right now that are popular, but they probably are watching a TV show like Barney or I don't know, guys. Well, you need to help me out. Well, what are the TV shows 2 to 3-year-old kids watch nowadays? Or Balaji, what was your daughter watching too when she was 2 or
Barney is a
3?
good one only. Yeah.
Bobby
Huh?
is a good one. Bobby is okay.
Barbie.
Yeah.
Okay, Barbie. But then once the same one who when she became 10, she doesn't want to be seen carrying Barbie because of social pressure, etc. Right? So now what she wants, she wants to do something more different, etc. Right? I mean, yeah. So that watch Stranger Things, etc. That will come around teens, right? So that's when, like, they are into horror, etc. Then later on it will become into romance or whatever, right? So like this, see, one is gone, but something else is caught. Other is gone, but something else is caught. So this vasanas, yes. So the thing is that the goal is, yes, we want to burn, but at the same time, not to acquire something new, different or new. So that is where the karma, when we talk about this karma yoga helps with not acquiring anything new. So we are shutting down the inputs. Okay. So that's why. Okay. So we are purifying and shutting down new inputs, and that's why that's how we are getting close to Bhagwan. So there's one more question that I want to answer. By the way, like, does it answer your question, Hari?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
We
last
can cover
question.
that later if you want. I know we are over time, but then that's fine with me too. Thank you.
Yeah. We can
Okay.
finish. Do you have a couple more minutes, guys?
No, I'm fine. I'm just making sure others are okay too. Yeah.
So, although I asked this, I'm still confused as I see self and God to be two different entities. If not, who is ruling eternal realm? What does it mean one reaches eternal realm? Who are we remembering at death, self or God? If we are Brahman and the same as God, who are we trying to merge into attain? So, the thing is that, or Advaita Vedanta says, okay, now the Advaita Vedanta, please understand when we say Advaita Vedanta says, it is based on what Vedanta says. What is Vedanta is whatever our Upanishads, etc., all our scriptures say is simple. What they say is that you are Brahman. Okay. Somehow there is a misunderstanding that happened. Because of that misunderstanding, okay, our focus turned out in the outward world, and as a result, like as a jiva, our focus turned into outward world, and because of that, we are trying to gain our true nature. Trying to gain our true nature is our efforts to gain moksha, and moksha is understanding that I myself am God. So self and God are not two different entities, but they are one and the same. Self equals God. Atma equals Brahman. Okay. So when we say Satchitananda Brahma, you can say like equation Sat, which is existence, equals Chit, which is consciousness, which is equals Ananda, which is bliss, equals Atma, which is my true nature, self, which is Brahma, which is what we call as God. Okay. So they are not two different entities. But what happened is that now I got confused and I'm thinking that I am separate and somehow I'm different and separate from God simply because of our association and identification with this body. This upadhi. We call this as upadhi. Upadhi means one that is close to you, and because of their closeness, their qualities reflect in you. Okay. So for example, think about like a transparent light bulb. When it is going through a filter of red color or like, a red glass, that light appears to be red. So is that light really red? No, it is actually transparent color. However, because of the presence of that red object, it appears to be red. If it is green, it appears to be green. But the reality is that light is always transparent color itself, and all you need to do to see the truth is disassociate and move away from that either red filter or green filter or yellow filter, whatever that filter, right? So now for us, those filters are these three bodies. This Karma Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Stula Sharira. Once we disassociate from them, then we see our true nature. So that's why it is called as realization. Realization means what? It is not like something you have attained, something that is not there. Rather, you realize what you are always been. Okay.
This part is still confusing to me. I think it may need more discussion because I still have question. Like we say, God is same as us. Then if we are realizing, and then we go to this eternal realm, which is I don't know Vaikuntha Loka, Shiva Loka. But then, is there someone? We are always like when we are talking in Bhagavad Gita, is just like someone is there, is how it's being pictured. But it's just only for us to visualize or to keep that attention. Maybe we are visualizing it to be someone, but then it's us. So it's like I'm imagining it's like there's a Loka out there with a lot of souls who have been realized. And they're all in that loka, whatever that loka is. So there is something there that we're trying to achieve, right? So I mean, who's managing all that? You know, I don't know if I'm framing my question, but that's the
Sure.
confusion I have.
Okay. What is, if I say x plus 5 equals 8,
Mhm.
okay? Simple equation. X plus 5 equals 8.
Mhm.
Then what is x?
Three.
3. Okay. Now, what happened? Is that really an x which is different from 3?
Mhm.
Okay. So the x is introduced to identify something. Once it is identified that it is 3, 3 plus 5 is 8, is there any reason for x to exist?
No.
No. However, when we said x plus 5 equals 8 and x equals 3, once the purpose of existence of x as separate from 3 was needed to solve the equation.
Mhm.
Once the equation has solved, there is no reason for x. So God is something like x,
Mhm.
that x factor. Because I'm thinking that I really don't know who I am. I need to try to figure out. I need a anchor point with which I solve the problem. Once I understand, then x or 3, whether you say x plus 5 equals 8 or 3 plus 5 equals 8, both are same,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So that is why in the beginning, yes, x is different because different from 3 because we don't know what x is, right? But once we understood it, then there's no need for x. So in the same way, initially you are there, God is there, and the world is there. Okay? Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. Three things are there. And as you see and understand, you will that then what you see is that the first step is you'll understand Jagat and Ishvara are one and the same. Okay? And then you will understand that you are also same as Jagat and Ishvara. So then it becomes Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. All of them boils down to one. And whatever that one is, you.
Mhm.
Because you are not different from anything else.
Yeah, it puzzles me sometimes, like from a creation standpoint, why is that someone has to create us like this and tell us like, find me again? Like it's like a challenge. Like you're being created, and now you are told like, okay, go through all these sorrows, everything, and this is my cycle, and then come and realize yourself and come back. That's what puzzles me. So which means
Yeah.
there is something that created and put you into that cycle, right? So that gives us that kind of feeling like there is someone else. It's maybe not a physical entity, but then something else that's putting into this cycle,
No.
and then you are asking to be realize yourself and come back to that point. So
Okay.
I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's why I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
I know. It does. Okay. So can I get two more minutes of your time? Okay. So it's snowing, guys, outside. You guys are not going to go out. Okay. So here is the thing. This is a Puja Guru from Tejo Manandaji. He gives this beautiful example. Okay. I mean, like actually, he narrates this incident that he was like he from his young age he would tell that, like he was very weak in science, so he was weak in social studies also, both subjects. So exam was there, it was science exam. He studied very hard, prepared very hard, and went to exam. And when he went to the exam, it was not actually science exam, but it was social studies. So he did miserably and he failed. And obviously, like his dad was angry at him or something happened. And because of that failure, he was, I think he met an accident or something like that. And the other vehicle came and hit him. He fell down and shrieked And when he shrieked, he woke up from his dream. Yeah. So this whole thing that was narrated was his dream about his fear for science exam and social studies exam, and then waking up, like failing the exam and getting into accident, etc. Now the question is, let us go into his dream. It was him who was in his dream. And who was the teacher in his dream? External teacher did not come into his dream and stayed there. External teacher was sleeping in his room somewhere else. I mean, at his home. So the one who gave that exam, who gave that exam paper, was also him. Who took the exam? He is the one who took the exam. And who failed him? He himself failed him. Okay. And who created, who came and hit him? That is also him. All of them, while this all of them is happening, he could see everything. So that means that there is light. So that means the sun also was there in the dream. Sun, moon, whatever. Right? Light is also there in that dream. So who was that light? It is him. So in his own dream, he made himself fail and he felt miserable, not somebody else. And when he woke up, he became disassociated with the entire dream. And when he woke up, entire dream world disappeared. Now, where exactly the creation of that dream world happened? In his mind. And when exactly the dream has started? Obviously, after he went to sleep, but that whole dream, when it started, he did not have much control, or oh, I wanted this dream or that dream kind of a thing, right? If that was the case, he would have had a dream where he wrote exam and he got like 100 out of 100, and he got distinction, all the applause, praises everywhere. But that did not happen. Okay. So our world and we are also like that. Okay. So when creation happened, why did the creation happen? Just like the dream, why did the dream happen? When did it start? Because you don't know, when you wake up, you say, last night I had a dream. If I ask you at what time, you can only say what time you went to sleep, but you can never say what time the dream started. Okay. How it started. What was the very first scene in the dream? Where were you before that first scene of the dream happened? Can you say? No. This world is also like that. Okay. So, what Vedanta, that wake up call, see, what happens is that it is, in that case, I told you, right? Suddenly he woke up because of some accident or something like that. So what happens is that when in dream, when some untoward incident or something like some strong thing happens, you wake up from the dream immediately. Okay. Otherwise, the dream ends and you continue to sleep and you wake up next morning. But sometimes when the dream is very powerful, okay, either in a good way or a bad way, you suddenly wake up and sometimes you feel bad that why did I wake up? That was such a cool dream, such a nice dream. I should have been dreaming that for some more time. Sometimes oh, thank God I woke up from that dream. But either way, you wake up. Right? So because of something strong that happens. So that's something strong that happens that helps you wake up from that dream. In our Vedanta, we call it as that Guru will come and wake you up. Okay. So that's why Guru sometimes, I mean, some of the titles that are given to these teachers are Vedanta Kesari. Vedanta Kesari. No, some. No, I don't recall now exactly. It is basically it is a Veda is like some word corresponding to lion. Okay, I'm unable to recall like what exactly. Not simham, but something else. So where when that lion roars in your face, you suddenly wake up. I mean, you suddenly get so scared and wake up. So that's how these gurus are, and they help us realize our true nature. And that guru is who? You alone. Again, okay, that guru is not different from you. Okay, so this is how the uh, creation, etc., happens. So I know like this will lead to other questions. Let us not go into other questions. I took a long time, but does this answer your current question to a certain extent?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for taking the whole session on all my questions. I appreciate it. I know folks are also patiently listening to all them, but thank you.
So hopefully this was helpful, and I apologize uh, if someone thought that we did not cover Gita today. So.
You